Lessons from Ed Sheeran. If it floats, flies, feeds or fucks, it's not a good investment. My dad. Okay, so I added the fucks part because Dad would never have said that. Regardless, the rest was great advice from a man who knew the difference between a good and a bad investment. When the Gold Coast was a small town in the 1980s, Dad was everyone's accountant. I've lost count of how many times older people have seen my name and said, "You must be Ed Sheeran's son." Yep, that's right. My dad was Ed Sheeran. It usually gets a laugh when I say I'm related to Ed Sheeran, but growing up, I never knew how good Dad was when it came to investments. We lived in a gorgeous house perched high up on the exclusive Skyline Terrace at West Burleigh. But even so, everything else about Dad was low-key. It wasn't until after his death that I became qualified in the financial industry, and to be honest, one huge regret of mine was that I didn't discover my love for investing before his passing. These days, I often look at companies and investments and wish I could pick his brains about them or how to evaluate them better. We all want to have more money at the end of our life, rather than more life at the end of our money, and he achieved this, despite living until the age of 91. Apart from financial advice, Dad imparted very little advice about anything else unless you asked. He was a man of very few words, but when he did speak, you listened. Despite this, you could learn a lot from him by his actions rather than his words. He read and exercised every day without fail. He only spoke when asked, and only if he had something to add to a conversation. And he rarely spoke ill of anyone either. These are all lessons that I've not always been great at, but of which I want to emphasise are important to a truly happy life. Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor, said, "Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a life." As I've stated previously, I read at least 3 hours a day and spend an additional hour or two listening to podcasts. I also read a lot of movie scripts, which is an essential part of developing as a screenwriter in Hollywood. In a world where everyone thinks they should be voicing their opinion, I try to refrain from doing so unless I have something that can help others. So in summary, nourish your mind and body daily. Speak only when you need to and not when you think you have to, and don't say anything to anyone else that you wouldn't say to yourself. If you follow these simple tips, you too could have a long and happy life like my dad did. And as for the quote at the beginning of the story, don't invest in boats, animals or airlines. They're endless money pits.